was college worth it?
Yes.
That was a long video itself, and I'm sure you can find that on our Underachievers podcast page if you want to get that. Where we pretty much all kind of give our thoughts and opinions of college in general, but we kind of wanted to go a little step further to that of just coming out of college.
Oh yeah, like the
getting
feelings.
into adulthood, and that's
feelings coming out like post college.
It sucks.
Post college, and then like
Oof.
how did you like? We want to know, like, we can go around here, but like, how'd you feel after like leaving college? For say, like, the first, like, I'd say for the first like 3 months, 4 months out of college, it really doesn't feel like you're out of college because it's summer, depending on what time you left, or it's winter break.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'm gonna say like maybe a year out. I'd say.
I would say a year. We'll say a year out for this.
I'd say a year out. See how you felt, and what your kind of, I would say aspirations were maybe at that point. Seeing that you're already a year out of college and you had to kind of start the workforce. So I want to hear. Like,
yeah, for sure.
My mind's gonna be a lot different than yours.
I can imagine.
I can start this out then, because for me, that was a little different too. Because I've talked about this many times that after I walked, I hadn't completely graduated yet because I had failed a language course.
So but that wasn't your fault, though. That was
I know it wasn't technically my fault, but technically was my fault. Yes.
We'll say 60% the university, 40% Whitmer.
Sure, I'll make myself feel better saying that. Yes.
I'm trying to give you the benefit of the doubt.
Oh, I know you are, but at the end of the day, it's really on me. It's on that one. But it took me like a year after
you graduated
to actually get my diploma. But coming right out of it, my thought process was take it, at least when I walked, and that thought process was enjoy these next couple months in the summer because it was summertime, and then hammer in on getting a job, doing that stuff. And then believe it or not, you kind of need that paper, or those companies say we want some proof of that you actually graduated and got something. And unfortunately, well, now it's on the wall, so I definitely got it. But it was one of those things where, like, right out, I wanted to get that job, and unfortunately, it wasn't really panning out that way. So we just had to get a part-time kind of thing in the meantime, while also trying to get that credit through. Yes. But for me, it's definitely like a pain in the ass. Obviously, just once you get out of there, because you realize, if you don't realize it at college at that time, it's like you miss those moments with your friends and all that you made in college and all that. Obviously, college itself is a pain in the ass in its own right, but coming out of it and just figuring out on your own to an extent of getting that first entry level job and then becoming an adult essentially, because then you have to pay even more bills, benefits, and all this stuff. Soon after, you, like me, the one thing that has benefited with COVID was student loans not having to be paid out for at least a year. So that helped me get some money back into my bank account. Absolutely. But that's the main hassle I have right now, is just the budgeting kind of money issues because I'm still trying to find that job. Yet every once in a while, there's something that pops up. I apply, you know how these things work. They don't get back to you, or they say, no, thanks for applying, but no. They're a polite way of saying, nah. But in the meantime, I just kind of doing that and, this podcast, but adulting wise on that front, it's just kind of its own thing. So I like that I'm getting a little bit more money in, but once those student loans come back, that's when it's going to be real pain in the ass again.
That's when it's going to.
Because that's when even more bills come out and all this. And then obviously at some point I'd like to, move out, get an apartment and all that. Then you have to put that on top of it, mortgage, all this shit. So at the moment, I'm just trying to save as much as I can and not spend as much, which I think for the most part, I've done well at that. I know some people are a little different on that in terms of
me. Nice little shot there.
I wasn't going to
I love when you immediately look to your left.
You You didn't need to. You didn't need to say names, or it was
He
clear.
didn't even need to do anything. We all know who he's
As the
talking
man who
about.
goes out every weekend, drops money. I'm gonna cut you off there really quickly though.
Sure.
About jobs when applying.
Mhm.
So actually, like on Friday and today, a company called me that I had applied to 2 years ago.
Are you
Tommy.
serious?
Well,
They called like, hey, you recently submitted like a resume to us. We want to get in touch with you. And I'm like, I looked at the company. I'm like, I applied to this back way before COVID.
I've had that.
Like,
I've had mine. Like,
like,
I don't remember
dude,
applying to
like,
you.
are you
I don't-
kidding me?
No, we're not interested. Like, okay, I don't remember applying to you.
I'm like
Yeah.
back like before COVID. I'm like,
Oh my God.
I'm not interested anymore
Yeah.
at all.
That's the
Yeah,
worst.
go away.
I definitely had that happen. Where literally there is a company. You know, when I was before I got the job where I'm currently at, I was looking to move to DC. So for example, I moved to DC officially back in December, right? There was a couple of jobs I applied for before then. There was one I hear back in about February, mind you, a good 2 months after I'd already moved to DC and several months after I got this job. And a company said, hey, you know, like we're looking to, you know, like, move you to the next step. And I was like, I, first of all, have a job. And second of all, that was several months ago. So I'm good.
Keep going.
you guys
Sorry,
have-
the
Keep
dog-
going.
the
No,
dogs.
no. That's the audience.
Wait, Jeff, what month did they contact you?
They contacted me, I think, like February.
Okay.
All right. It's kind of
I've
random.
had that.
Yeah.
I've had that.
And I was already moved into DC by December.
Mhm.
All right.
So, and just to kind of conclude what I was going off of,
Yes,
'cause,
sorry.
I forgot, because the one thing that COVID did was a lot of it in terms of jobs and everything kind of not depleted, but there was a lot less that were kind of out there around the range of what I went to and all that in college. So because of that, that's why I've stayed at the job I've been at for so long. Which, you know, eventually I would like to, you know, leave that and start the job, but until then, I'm still trying to save as much as I can and do all that. It is a pain in the ass. The audience doesn't like that response, clearly.
Yeah, they're not too happy over here.
Yeah.
All right. I mean,
But
money's always
it's
good,
also
though.
one of those things because, and maybe we can pivot to this after you guys do that. Is
Yeah.
it worth it once you get done to, and you more than us can say more insight on this is it worth going to more schooling, grad school, doctorate, and all that? And we can pivot to that.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to take many shots at you. I'm just saying in general.
Keep them coming. Keep going.
I love it. Don't worry, we're just getting started.
If that would be something that'd be worth it for people just to try to get more of a name out there for yourself.
Yeah. I'll go last on this one actually, because then I'll feed right into that question.
Yeah,
that you
I
ended with.
think it's a good way to say.
So I think Jeff can go next, and then
Yeah.
I'll answer the first question that I had, and then I'll
Okay.
just kind of transition
Yeah,
into
yeah,
that
yeah.
next one.
Yeah, so my whole experience was pretty interesting for sure, because a lot of people know I went to school for broadcasting, you know, and I was, you know, heavily applying. So like right, like, because I had to really work my ass off just to even graduate on time. So I couldn't really enjoy much, like, you know, of course I enjoyed myself, just like going out with friends and whatnot, but like, so I, you know, try to, you know, down to the wire, really pay enough attention. Also, just make sure I got everything in on time to graduate, you know, that Saturday, whatever, officially, and being able to walk and, you know, and graduate in time. But after that, my thought process was, you know, like a lot of people, enjoy the first month and a half or so. Then after that, just really start, you know, trying to figure out where it was you want to apply. And because, you know, a lot of people know and I'm expecting a very sarcastic response for you guys. As a lot of people know, I'm a huge hockey fan, and I was looking to I was looking to.
I don't know why I'm just hearing
you know,
this now.
exactly. I was looking to find a team to work for, and I would apply, and then it went from strictly broadcasting for a while to public relations to practically anything, communication. So like within the next, when I first started the job process to towards like a couple months later, it went from only broadcasting to just down to almost anything communications. And there's a lot of different positions out there, and some were like way too far in the middle of nowhere, or sometimes some didn't even pan out. There's one I heard back when I was really excited, but then I found out it was pretty much an unpaid internship. I was like, oh, that's not really what I was looking for, but thanks. So, it kind of, there's so much going on. I was like, well, crap. Like before, I was like, I just got to get something. And of course I ended up taking a sales position, and that didn't go too well. And, cause I'd gotten that in like that November after I graduated, and it didn't begin until like January. So, and that didn't even last a month because it was just downright torturing. So it was just, yeah, it was a bad spot. Say again.
Did you spend most of the office time watching The Office
during lunch breaks? But yeah,
not surprised.
No,
but yeah, right. But no, it was pretty brutal. But then after that, I thought like, look, by the end of the day, that job was not good for my own mental health, and I recognized that pretty early on. And it took me a bit to try to come up with a plan and to tell my parents like, look, like it's full time, entry level, pretty decent pay, kind of going out of college and whatnot. But I was like, look, like I need to come up with a plan pretty quickly. And when I told my parents at first, I know they weren't, especially my dad, he was kind of pissed, but I was like, look, like by the end of the day, it's like, my own health over a job, because like, I would love to be happy with where I'm at, but straight up, to be honest, I wasn't at all. And I was going in every day, like basically already defeated, because I was like, oh my God, like I'm basically just working for like the weekend, for working for the paycheck, because it was an awful job for me personally. And it was flat out brutal. And then luckily I worked through like a temp agency and then got a new job, right in Westchester. And although it was like, just kind of part-time, I ended up working there for like a solid year. But overall though, like my experience was strictly on all broadcasting. Before I knew it, several months later, it was just communications in general, to just anything I could get my hands on, just my foot in the door, someone to give me that opportunity and get a chance on. And just, it was pretty brutal for me. But, luckily, where I'm at right now, with this one company I've been with since September, it's working out for the best. And I couldn't be happier with where I'm at. But it's, one thing I would definitely say is by the end of the day, like I would, that at least I would say is just, if there's a job that's destroying like your mental health on the inside, it's as much as you might love it or hate it, just really consider it, and it might not be really worth it by the end of the day.
Yeah, and you're definitely not alone on that one. So there's a lot of people that first, and just in general, that first entry level job you take is more than likely just a complete kind of shit job, for better or worse. Like it either takes like a lot out of you. Like, why am I doing this?
Yeah, no, literally, there's so many days,
and you're not even alone in that. I don't know the statistics, but I did see something where like people coming out of college end up getting a job not into what the degree or that major they initially went into. Yeah, it's pretty high. I don't know it offhand, but I know that's a thing. If people have
extremely high,
someone to use, like, I just kind of need something here.
Yeah, and that's kind of what it came down to. Is just I was like, shit, like I just need something just to get my foot in the door. Someone to give me that opportunity, and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I mean that's definitely like. It's what a lot of people are go through is when you leave college, when you're, so like for me, like, I had a job coming out of college already. I had already secured my job back in the winter break, because I knew I had to be aggressive, and I knew I needed to find a job, and I didn't want to look during my spring semester. I wanted to be secured and set, ready to go. And like it didn't start till September because I, worked my summer camp job. So I had a couple months kind of off to myself and to with my friends, even though I still was working 40 hours a week during the summer, I basically still had my own time. But leaving college, it was, for me personally, it was definitely academically, yeah, I didn't do bad. I didn't do great. It was kind of, it was all self-induced, damage to my GPA because I had proven that I could pull high GPAs when I went to Coastal. I pulled high GPA when I was there, like over a 3.5 I had. So it was so being where I was, ended up graduating from, it was all self-induced, I realized. I didn't realize it was there until then I did what I could do. But since I was so social with my club activities with rugby and my friends as well, where some of them had to take extra courses, or they were juniors, and a lot of my friends they were still at school. So, that was kind of hard for me to handle because I had two split friend groups, one that was out and then one that wasn't. So leaving college, it was definitely a very large struggle for me to comprehend and wrap my head around that it was done. Like undergrad was done. Job wise, I had a job for almost a year before COVID hit. And then when COVID hit and everything, of course, furloughs and all and stuff. But that kind of being that first job kickstarted where I knew I already wanted to do it. My junior year, I knew I wanted to go back to school. I wanted to get my master's, like an actual master's graduate degree, not a certificate, which you can get certificates and nothing against them. So my friends have them from prestigious universities. So nothing wrong with that. I just knew I wanted a degree.
Yeah, which makes sense though.
At a master's course. And being at the first job kind of kickstarted, I'm like, okay, I want to go back. Once I realized I kind of was going to realize how COVID was kind of formulating, I knew I wanted to go back. And I started doing the application process and all that kind of stuff. Several months later, I took a hiatus on applying. I had it all set up, but because of COVID and I didn't know how they're going to react to, bring kids in. I didn't know how they were going to react with, I wasn't out that way. So I didn't know how Zoom was going to work. So I stopped it for a while. And then once, not saying COVID stopped, because it never did really until like recently with all the vaccinations. But when the job opening started happening, I was like, okay, I'm going to go back and apply to school when my current job hasn't allowed me to do that. Because paychecks always come first, but the work fortunately lets me have that flexibility to be able to go back to school. So I'm part-time because I have to be, of course.
Right.
But I guess in the end scheme of things, from going from undergrad to work, it wasn't, I wouldn't say going to the workforce was a massive astronomical change to my lifestyle. It was more being displaced from undergrad life, from living with some of my best friends who I'm going to live with two of them come August again.
Nice.
Because I'm moving from where I am. But that's what it was. I saw them. I roomed with 4 of my best friends from college. We saw our other best friends almost 4 days a week, 5 days a week. That was the concept I was used to, where I was comfortable with, okay, I'm going to go to class, come back, hang out with my friends, go to class again, go to practice, eat dinner, go out drinking, do whatever we're going to do, right? It was at that socialization where now it was, I'm working. It went from there to summer work, which was pretty simplistic, honestly. And we all definitely understand that. You understand that it was, you basically had all the free time in the world besides the day, and even that was pretty easy.
Yeah, because it was nice because we were still although we were working.
All of our friends worked at the same place. All the people I would have hung out with anyway.
That was nice.
We're pretty much there. But anyway, so with that wasn't a change. It was when I moved into my actual career, my actual first time entry level job, where it went from being social to me maybe seeing people once a week, maybe once a week. Sometimes I wouldn't see them for 7 days because I was just working for so long. I was tired and stuff like that. So that's the first job made me realize how important like connecting and
Right.
ensuring you had time to see friends
Mhm.
and do what you wanted to do kind of thing. That was the biggest concept of it, where that was my biggest change and struggle, I guess, was the displacement from undergrad life with your friends for 4 years, 5 years, whatever you did, to not.